Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So today I'm going to talk about this racist H&M ad. And also, before I get started, I wanted to let you all know that I plan to do a couple of other Google Hangouts tonight. These are going to be brief Hangouts. This one deals with the H&M ad, and then I'm going to have another one probably dealing with Oprah Winfrey and her speech at the Golden Globes and all this talk about her running for president. And then I'm also going to do an update on Umar Johnson. Today, he actually had his hearing. There were reports that he was retaining counsel and the hearing was going to be rescheduled, but apparently he went forward with the hearing without counsel. And I want to just provide an update based on some articles that I read and also some videos that I saw about this matter. You know, there's a video on Boyce Watkins' channel where Umar is talking right after the hearing, you know, speaking to his supporters and all that kind of stuff. So I plan to briefly talk about that tonight as well. So I hope you all can hang with me and, you know, follow me through these hangouts. I'm doing it separately because I know that a lot of people don't have time to watch a long hangout. And this hangout right here is not going to be long at all. And I want to make sure that my hangouts are you know, to the point. You know, I don't want to have like a hangout where I'm all over the place. It's fine for the open mic sessions, but I want my hangouts to be focused. Also, I want to let you all know that I have gotten back into doing my written blog. So I encourage you all to follow my written blog as well. All you have to do is go to my YouTube page and you'll see the link to my written blog. Today I wrote an article about why I haven't been writing blog posts for the past few months. But I plan to write a blog post at least once a week on my blog. It's on Blogger, so I plan to write, you know, regularly once a week. And also, I'm looking for contributors, people who are interested in writing for my blog. You know, you won't get compensated or anything, but it will help put your name out there if you're interested in writing, if you're a writer and stuff like that. I started a blog, you know, this blog quite some time ago. And, you know, I've also written for other blogs. Like back in the day, there was this blog called Jack and Jill Politics that I wrote for, a very popular blog, you know, along with several other bloggers as well. So if you're interested in being a part of that blog, if you want to contribute to my blog, New Possibilities, please feel free to message me here on YouTube, or you can email me at newpossibilitiesblog@yahoo.com. So I'm going to share my screen. First, I'm going to go to the chat room to see who's in the house before I proceed to share my screen. So if you can bear with me a second. Shout out to my sister. I see you there. I see we have a couple of viewers right now. This is a little bit earlier than I usually do Hangouts, but it's not too late, too early. So hopefully people will be able to join. Okay, I'm sharing my screen now. So H&M posted this ad on their website for this hoodie, as you can see. And you see that there's an African-American boy in this ad. And the hoodie has something written on the front of it that says, "Coolest monkey in the jungle." Now, a lot of people were offended because of this ad, and rightfully so. And I'm going to explain why, you know, the outrage is justified. If you could bear with me a second, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, so this ad is racist because you have an African American or a black kid. I'm not sure if he's African American or not. From what I understand, this ad was featured in England or something like that. So he may not be African American, but you have a black boy in a hoodie that says "Coolest monkey in the jungle." Now, for somebody that doesn't know history, that doesn't know like the history of white people depicting black people as monkeys, as subhuman, as animals, they may not understand like why people are offended. But when you understand the history of how they have tried to dehumanize Black people, to reduce Black people down to being monkeys and lesser primates, there's a long history that goes along with this. And this ad right here is a part of that history. The coolest monkey in the town, in the jungle. So I'm going to show you a couple of things. First of all, a prime example of this racism is this website called Chimpmania. This is a racist website right here that depicts African Americans, Black people, as chimpanzees and other primates. As you can see here, they have all these chimpanzees. And if you go to this website, you'll see they have all these links comparing Black people to apes. And they call it Chimpmania because they view Black people as like chimpanzees. They view us as animals. They have these different forms on here. One says typical nigger behavior. And a lot of the people that use this page use gorilla avatars and racist symbols of Black people. Like, for instance, you have this thread right here that says, Amtrak 8 plays the nigger lotto. And another one right here, Niglet accidentally, and it goes on and on. And this one says, She Boom takes a dump during finals. She Boom, like baboon. They refer to Black women as she booms. So I'm just showing you examples of how, how these races view Black people as apes. They view Black people as subhumans. And this one right here refers to Atlanta as Ape-lanta, pavement ape, tried knuckle dragging on ice skates. That's one of these posts on here. So a predominantly Black city of Atlanta is called Ape-lanta, like it's inhabited by apes. And this one refers to a nigger ape-fent. Instead of infant, they call it ape-fent, like an ape, a baby ape. That's how they refer to Black people. And when you click on these links, you'll see a whole bunch of racist imagery. Let me see. Some of them are shut down, so you can't access them. But you have a lot of people on this racist website linking to various articles and referring to Black people as apes. And then here's an article on The Root that talks about this history of comparing Black people to apes. As we all know, when Obama was in the White House, there were all these memes depicting him and the First Lady as apes. As you can see in this photograph right here, this article points out the long history of depicting African people as apes. So I encourage you all to read this article. I'll post the link in the description box so that you can read it. Also, this article further points out how, this kind of racism is not even confined to the United States. They talked about how during like these soccer matches in Europe and elsewhere, there's a lot of racist taunts that are used against Black people. Like, there was one incident where they were tossing bananas onto the field to demean Black players, equating Black people to apes. So this article goes on. And the thing that has to be pointed out about this process of dehumanization is that this is the first step, towards oppression. First, they have to dehumanize a people before they can actually commit all kinds of atrocities against them. They have to justify the brutality and the oppression of Black people. So the one thing that they did was they dehumanized Black people. And it makes it easier to oppress people when you don't view them as human beings. It's easy to kill a black man when you view him as a beast, as an animal, when you view him as less than human, when you view him as a criminal, as a thug, and all that kind of stuff. And that's why you have these killings of black people and there's no justice, because in the minds of a lot of these people, they view black people as animals. They view black people as apes. They view us as criminals. And that's why you can have a jury that listens to all the evidence of a murder and still acquit the officer who kills a black person. So yeah, I encourage you all to check out this article. And there's another racist website called Chimp Out, another example of people equating black people to monkeys. And I'm going to try to see if I can pull up that website while I'm doing this live stream. So let me try to go to this. If you can bear with me a second. Yeah, so apparently it can't be reached. It may have been taken down. Let me try to search for it using Google. Maybe it's listed under a different name. And in general, that's a term that racists use to describe black people. Like if there's a riot or some kind of uprising or something like that, they'll say that black people are chimping out, referring to black people as apes and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so I don't see the website. It may have been taken down since that article was written. And you also have this article in the Huffington Post that talks about this long history of equating black people to apes as well. So I encourage people to look at this article as well. It points it out, you know, how these people have depicted Africans as apes and all that kind of stuff, as subhuman for the longest period of time. You know, and we know the examples of like the minstrel shows, how they depicted black people as subhuman, and even some cartoons, they would depict people, black people, as like apes. They would have us in these images that look similar to apes. And you all have seen the racist Disney cartoons. I'm gonna try to see if I can pull up some of those images from the racist Disney cartoons so you can see exactly what I'm talking about as we do this video. So hopefully it'll come up. Yeah, so you see some of these images right here depicting black people as like animals and, you know, subhuman. Like this image right here, depicting black people as cannibals and animals. And again, like when they can depict you this way, it's easier for people to rationalize and justify the oppression of black people. And we remember Birth of a Nation, where they depicted black people as savages, as sex-crazed animals. And some have even drawn like comparisons to the movie King Kong, and basically implied that that was a depiction of a black person. The ape, the King Kong, represented the black man trying to lust after the white woman. So we have all these examples throughout history of how this is tied to racism, you know, this imagery of black people as apes. And, you know, it's not something that's confined to America. You know, this ad we're talking about, from what I understand, was in either London or some other European country. And then you had this situation in China, where they actually had an exhibit set up equating black people to animals. You know, one where they had a face of an ape with his mouth open wide, you know, like he was about to bite something or he was howling. And then they had a picture of a black boy with his mouth open in a similar fashion. And they also had images of a black man side by side with a baboon. And they also had other types of animals like a lion and, you know, some other animals and stuff like that. Basically dehumanizing black people, equating black people with monkeys, equating black people with animals. And basically this ad is like a subliminal jab at black people, you know, and that's one thing that you got to be careful of, like subtle messages designed to pierce the subconscious mind of people, to send a subconscious message. Now, there's no justification for this ad. No justification at all for this ad. There's no way to explain this away. And after coming under a lot of criticism and scrutiny and all that kind of stuff, H&M decided to apologize for this. And this is basically what they said. They said, we understand that many people are upset about this image. And it goes on to say, we can only agree. We are deeply sorry that the photograph was taken and we regret the actual print. And then they go on to say, therefore, we have not only removed the image from our channel, but also the garment from our product offering globally. And also there was something in here where they said like, they basically said if people were offended, we're sorry. You know, I think their initial statement said something to that effect. Yeah, let me pull that. Hold on one second. Just a second, y'all, bear with me. Yeah, their initial statement said, we apologize to anyone this may have offended, you know, basically saying, well, you know, statements like that where they say we apologize to someone who may have been offended implies that somehow they did nothing wrong and it was a matter of somebody's perception, you know, somebody perceiving a problem and stuff like that. That's a way to essentially patronize somebody, like make it seem like, okay, you were offended and we apologize if you were offended, even though we did nothing wrong. So their initial statement was all weak and everything. And, you know, it's a disgrace that you have this company. And H&M is a store that I like. You know, it's a store where you get cheap, fashionable clothing and all that kind of stuff. But this ad, you know, this ad sets them backwards. You know, the fact that they would put out something like this says a lot about their value system. It says a lot about their insensitivity. And an artist, you know, The Weeknd, this artist by the name of The Weeknd, a Canadian singer, has decided to cut his ties with H&M because of this ad. He wrote, I'm deeply offended and will not be working with H&M anymore. And that's reported in the Business Insider. So, yeah, I mean, it's a good thing you have people actually taking a stand and cutting their ties with these companies because, I mean, it makes no sense that you have stuff like this happening in 2018, man. And I see they have the wrong date on here by mistake, but in 2018, you got a company putting out a racist T-shirt. And this says a lot about a company. You know, a company that would actually put something out like this. You know, it says quite a few things. It either says that they are ignorant, you know, meaning that they had no knowledge of this long history of dehumanizing Black people. And the only reason why they would be so ignorant is because, for one, they may not be diverse enough in their advertising department. They probably don't have enough Black people in their advertising department, or Black people who are informed, or even white people who are knowledgeable of history, because somewhere, somebody who saw this idea being floated should have just stopped it right in its tracks. They should have said, well, this is offensive, you know, this is insensitive, and we shouldn't even be marketing something like this. We shouldn't create something like this. But when you have a company that's all white, or where there's very few black people that are a part of the decision-making process, you have disasters like this. This is a prime example of why diversity is necessary in corporate America. And, so that's the situation, man. And then also it could be a situation where people, they knew exactly what they were doing, where they actually intended to put out this subliminal message to people, suggesting that black people are monkeys in the jungle. And the thing that makes this so really offensive is that when you think about Trayvon Martin and the whole thing with the hoodie and stuff like that, and what happened to that brother, and then you got this young brother in a hoodie that says "coolest monkey in the jungle," equating himself with a monkey, with an animal. And I'm just wondering about his parents, like if his parents just stopped to think about this ad, like in this hoodie. I mean, I know that some people are just so hungry for an opportunity. They want their children to get out there, get their name out there, get started in entertainment and stuff like that, or modeling. So they're willing to set aside certain things, but you have to get to a point where values are more important than the dollar, where values are more important than fame. And it's unfortunate that, even on the most basic of levels, his parents should have said, well, we don't like the idea of our son wearing a shirt that says "coolest monkey." Our son is not a monkey. He's a black boy, and he deserves respect. At some point, the parents should have said something, man. They shouldn't have allowed their kid to be caught out there like this. But again, you have some people that are so hungry for money, so hungry for fame, that they don't even care about their dignity. They will sacrifice their dignity and their integrity for a few dollars or for a little bit of fame. And we saw something similar to this when you had the sister who did the ad for Dove. I think it was Dove, if I'm not mistaken, where they had her um, getting clean, and then she turns into a white person. Suggesting that blackness is filthy, suggesting that blackness is dirt and ugly. Again, another example of subliminal messages. Another example of a company that doesn't have any kind of cultural sensitivity or awareness. And I'm just going to show you this one little post that I have on my Facebook page. There's a reminder of just how racist that Dove ad was. You can bear with me a second. I'm not going to play the video because I don't want to deal with copyright issues. Hold on one second. Yeah, so you have this post right here that talks about how dark skin was depicted as filthy. And you have all these images of people cleaning themselves and the blackness coming off of them. And, that whole Dove ad was a part of that. It was a part of that whole history. And that's what people do. Too often people look at things in isolation. They don't consider the history and all that kind of stuff. So when you don't consider the history and you're not aware of that, you may be like, oh, what's the big deal? It's not a big deal that this kid has a monkey shirt on. It's not a big deal that Dove did this particular ad and all that kind of stuff. But we have to connect everything to history. We have to realize that everything is connected. And, it's just a shame that we are the ones being depicted as apes and all that kind of stuff, man, when we are the founders of civilization. Hold on one second. Yeah, so it's just a shame that we're the ones depicted as apes. As I was saying, when we are the founders of civilization, there would be no mathematics if it wasn't for black people. There would be no philosophy, no science, no medicine if it wasn't for black people creating those things. But yet they depict us as animals. They depict us as subhuman. And it's a damn shame that you had this stuff still going on in 2018. I'm glad that they pulled the ad. I'm glad that they took down the product and they're not going to sell the product. And that's just a reminder of how important it is for us to make our voices heard. By speaking out and using social media to express our views, we're able to impact these companies. We're able to put pressure on them to change their practices and to be sensitive to our needs, and for no other reason but the reason of seeking profits and all that kind of stuff, and needing to keep certain markets open and stuff like that. We need to leverage our voices and leverage our dollars to make a difference. And I'm glad to see that they have taken down the ad and they no longer are going to be distributing this product. And we should be inspired by this to use our voices more to protect our interests as a people. So before I close out, I'm going to go to your comments, see what you all have to say about this issue, and I'm going to respond to you all. So just bear with me 1 second. Again, shout out to my sister, shout out to Cocoa Butter, shout out to O Explicit. Shout out to Maya, King Maya. And All Explicit says it goes back to Jim Crow. This whole situation. And Max says that the mother of that kid was ravenous as hell for a check. And Keisha Brooks says, so much hate, sad mom, let me see this. Then I see that Simone says that they are the ones with animal DNA, not us. Research it. See, I wouldn't go that far. Like, I don't know what research you're referring to. But yeah, it's just a shame that people would depict Black people as animals, and in these modern times, still depicting Black people as apes and all that kind of stuff. And you have this company. This isn't one of those racist websites that I referred to. This is a company, a company that's making millions upon millions of dollars, a global company, putting out a racist product and putting out a racist ad. It's a shame. So Herb Saint said H&M is a European company. Yeah, it is a European company. And I can't remember if it's in England or if it's in some other country like Switzerland or something, but it is a English country. And he goes on to say they're big on calling Blacks monkeys, especially during soccer matches. Yeah, as I pointed out, like there was one incident where they were throwing bananas onto the field and stuff like that, referring to the Black players as monkeys and stuff. And we know that stuff happens all the time over there, even though like people had this perception that Europe is so open and accepting and all that kind of stuff. When they hate Black people just as much as, the American white man hates Black people. And Max says that apology was horse crap. Don't you think? Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, first of all, you had them saying, well, if you were offended, I'm sorry. I mean, that's like that kind of apology is not a real apology. Then afterwards, they came back with a better statement. But the fact of the matter is, the only reason why they're apologizing is because people spoke out and condemned that racist ad, and that racist product. And there was a large voice, a significant number of people complaining about this. You had high-profile journalists talking about this. Their brother Charles Blow put out a tweet complaining about the situation. So that's the only reason why they issued an apology, because of the outrage that people had expressed. It's not about some genuine concern about our issues or anything like that. They're looking at their bottom line, and they see that this may be harmful to their profitability. And that's what we got to understand. I mean, these people understand money. The thing that hurts them the most is the dollar. And we need to use our money accordingly, use our money as a weapon in our struggle for Black liberation and Black empowerment. And we also have to use these social media, various types of social media, to make our views known to the world. Because as long as you're quiet, they think you accept it. They think you accept being viewed as a monkey, as being depicted as a second-class person or even a subhuman. They'll think you're fine with it if you're quiet. And M. Franklin said they can take their apology and shove it where the sun doesn't shine. And the thing is, they had a white ad as well that depicted a white boy as some survivor and all that kind of stuff, as some explorer and survivor. But then they got this Black boy in a hoodie that says "coolest monkey" in the jungle, man. And you all know about like those stereotypes about Africans and the jungle and all that kind of stuff. Where they view Africa as just one big jungle, where there was no civilization and there was the people living on a quote unquote dark continent and all this and that. When as a matter of fact, it was Black people that brought civilization to Europe. If you look at the history of the Moors, at the time when Europe was in their dark ages, it was Black people that enlightened those people. It was, again, the greatest civilizations were created by Black people early on, and these other civilizations learned from African civilizations. But yet they want to depict us as the animals, as the savages. And a book that I would highly recommend, a book that I've done a review on, is The Destruction of Black Civilization. It talks about how we were great people and how our civilizations were eventually destroyed. And we were reduced to the state that we are now, like reduced to the state of slavery and, all these other conditions that follow slavery, reduced to the point where we were the builders of civilization, but yet they want to view us as the apes. So let me continue on with your comments before I close out this video. And I see some people agreeing, saying, Cocoa Butter said, I agree. That's the only way we can make change, make our voices heard collectively. And Jalen Unchained said, we don't have friends. I guess he's referring to Black people not having friends. And I've heard people say that. Like, I think it was John Henry Clark who said that that we don't have friends, and that we can't depend on these other groups. But I do think that there's a need for coalitions, and there are examples of functional coalitions that Black people formed around different issues. Yeah, Cocoa Butter. I don't think it was I don't think H&M was the company Jay-Z pulled his support from. I know that Jay-Z was selling some products with Barney's in New York, this high-end store and stuff like that. And there was some controversy about how they treated a Black person there and stuff like that, racial profiling and stuff. And from what I remember, at the time, he did not pull from that company. As I recall, I'm not aware of him having any kind of business ties to H&M. All right, I see there's a troll in the house. Let me take you out. Just bear with me a second. Yeah, for people that don't know, I mean, my channel is not a troll safe zone, no safe place or anything like that. Trolls are not welcome here. You will be deleted in the comments and from the chat. I don't mind if people disagree, but I will not tolerate disrespect. Disrespect to me or to the people in the chat room or people that comment. And Teresa F said the sad part is that there will be Black people shopping there tomorrow, even though you had a situation. Yeah, that's unfortunately true. One thing that makes this different is that they did, in fact, change course and they got rid of the product and all that kind of stuff. So I could understand like people saying, okay, well, they rectified the problem. So I'm going to continue to shop there. But I think that they need to do more than just taking that one product down. What they need to do is, make assurances that they will have a diverse advertising team, more diversity in that company. So things like this won't happen in the future. Otherwise, we'll see a repeat of this situation. And this is why you constantly see examples of this, like in, repeatedly, where you have all these companies that end up with these racist ads and all that kind of stuff because they don't have the diversity there. It's time and time again, like every other couple of months, there's some story about some racist ad and stuff like that being put out. And that shouldn't be happening because, the workplace needs to reflect the diversity of not only like America, for American companies, but the diversity of other places and of the world. And, it's a shame that, like, as I was talking about, like I gave the example of that museum in China where they have Black people depicted as apes, comparing us to apes and all that kind of stuff. It's a shame that like this racism against Black people is not confined to the United States. It has like been transported and exported elsewhere. Like in Japan, I was looking at this story. I think it was Japan or one of those Asian countries where blackface is common in the country. And when I get a chance, I'll post a link in the description box so that people could watch that, where it is normal for people to depict Black people as blackface. Like they have these Koreans, I think it was Korea or some other country, one of those countries, Japan or Korea, where they have blackface and, they have people singing in blackface, acting in blackface and all that stuff in this modern time. So it's like they exported all of that racist stuff from way back in the day, the minstrel shows and all that kind of stuff, to those Asian countries, and they're running around, depicting Black people as minstrels and stuff like that in this modern time in 2018. So let me go over your comments some more. Yeah, I see that Nagar noticed that it was Dr. Henry Clark who made that statement, "We have no friends." Yeah, I see that somebody said that they stopped shopping at H&M because their clothes are poorly made and they don't have plus sizes and stuff like that at H&M. Yeah, that's true. They have like a lot of clothes that are for very thin people. Like a lot of the stuff is slim size and stuff like that. And also, it is kind of cheap. Like the clothes are cheap, but they're like I like the place because their clothes are cheap but fashionable. So I go there every now and then and stuff like that. And this is a store that my daughter checks out. But it's just a shame that they would have this ad, man, and that really turns me off from that store. Oh, I see that somebody said that I should go to a particular page. I'm going to write down their name, and that's on Instagram. So I'm going to look that up and see what you're referring to. You said that this person made some statements about black men, and you want to know my take on that. Um, and you said that black feminists are mad, so I'm going to look into that. Just bear with me a second. And somebody said that, Herb Saint said that he could have taken a picture with a different shirt on, and they can do a lot with digital imagery nowadays. And he says that I hope the parents wouldn't have approved this. I would hope so too, man, because there's no way I would allow my children to do an ad with a racist shirt on like that. And Darian Marion said that if they had black people working for them, they wouldn't have made those types of missteps. Yeah, exactly. That's the point that I was making. Okay, so the person Mr. Dre 1992 mentioned that the person that I should look up on Instagram is Nipsey Hussle. Yeah, I'm going to look that up and see what the uproar is about. I'll probably do that right after this. Yeah, so I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Again, I'm going to have a couple of other hangouts tonight. So I hope you all can tune in for those. Again, I'll provide an update on Umar Johnson and his hearing. He had his hearing today. I read an article about it, and I also saw a video about it. So I want to talk about that. So look out for that. I'm probably going to do that next, and then do the Oprah Winfrey video about her statement, her speech during the Golden Globes, and all this talk about her running for president in 2020. All right, so with that, I'll say peace and blessings to each and every one of you. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate your support. Peace.